Welcome to Independent Thought and Freedom. Today, we continue our discussion of the pivotal issue of Jammu and Kashmir and place it in an international context. The Jammu and Kashmir issues, it does not only involve Pakistan and India, but also China, the US, and the UK. It does not only involve religious issues either, but also geo-economic and geopolitical designs of the great powers. To give us more clarity on this, we have back on this podcast my good friend Rajesh Sekhar, the brilliant young editor of one of the most important journals in the world, Great Game India. I can't recommend their website and journal highly enough. Welcome.
Yeah, hi. Hi, kid. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Um, how's it like in Andhra Pradesh? You're in Andhra Pradesh right now?
Yes.
Good, good. What's the reaction to the abrogation of Article 370 being like where you are?
370 article, it's my inclination towards is like there is no particular, like we can't say like good or bad right now. There
Yeah,
is no, like we can't like say whether it is good, like uh, how's the repercussions of that article. We have to wait and
yeah,
see for next 1 year or 2 years or so.
yeah. But in general in Andhra Pradesh where you're at, what's the reaction like?
Reaction is like pretty much they are supported towards it.
Right,
Most
right.
of the political parties, like here in Andhra Pradesh, they are like local political bodies are there. They are not
Yes,
even affiliated to BJP. They are
yeah.
not even like alliance with BJP, but they still supported the 370.
Yes, yes. The rest of the world seems to, be viewing this in a very negative way, very
Yes.
negative way. They, say it's aggressive Hindu nationalism and it's Hindu. They're putting a very religious spin on it rather than a security, peace, and
Okay.
development spin on it,
Okay.
and saying that it is there to crush the Muslim minority. Well, that area has a Muslim majority, uh, and what's your view on that? Because I know you're not a BJP supporter, you're not a
Yeah.
Hindutva supporter, uh, but you are a strong nationalist, and you have this very very amazing long term worldview. So
Yeah.
what's your reaction to the international negative press that this has been getting?
Okay. So if like for example, like Russia supported the move of 370, but rest of the countries they went against it. But that will
Yeah,
signal it. That will signal it how important it is for the rest of the like how India is placed into the geographical fight between like Pakistan and like as you said that like economical interest of China,
yeah,
Pakistan, and it also went down into the like Afghanistan also, and even
right,
Iran. Iran is also one of the part of it. But
right.
as far as now, when it concerns to China and Pakistan, they are not into the. They are went against it, and even the UK and all the countries that went against it, like they are interested in India not involved into the Kashmir issue because
Yeah,
they want the conflict, the rest itself.
they
So
want the contact. Sorry, I
they
didn't
want the
get it. They
conflict.
want the conflict.
They want the conflict that has to be continued. So
Right. So they
because
they
the
don't want a
conflict,
resolution to the conflict. They want the
yes,
conflict
yes.
to
What
continue.
BJP did is good, but
Yeah.
it has the side effects of what BJP does with it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So there
Because
is
and just to be clear for the listeners, what is your thinking, your reasoning behind the idea that you're saying they want this conflict to continue? They want it not to be solved. Why is that? who doesn't want it to be solved,
Okay.
and why don't they want it to be solved?
Okay. If you went back to our previous conversation, like a previous podcast,
Yeah,
we have discussed about the Great Game. So
that's
the
right.
Great Game itself was born when Pakistan was born.
Right,
Okay. When British drew the border lines of India and Pakistan and India and China, they drew the conflict, and with itself, uh, it's a strategical position.
right,
When British want to get out of this country, they want something in they want conflict in between India and Russia. So they created a buffer zone of Pakistan.
right,
So, for example, I will give a simple example that if Pakistan is not there in the geographical position between India and Russia, we would have developed that entire Pakistan, India, and Russia, that geographical borderlines, we would have developed into the industrial corridor.
right. So there would have been an industrial corridor between Russia and
Uh,
India, but
yes,
because Pakistan was a U.S. ally,
yes,
Pakistan was wedged between the two and
yes,
prevented the communication between
yes.
Russia and India
Communication.
because
Yes,
that is what the Great Game was always about, putting India, Russia, China, um, dividing them up against each other so that
yes,
they wouldn't coalesce to remake Asia
yes,
the great power that it
yes,
was for most of
yes,
human history, right?
yes,
Because it's
yes,
really the East India Company
yes.
that crashed
Yeah.
India and China from being the lead source. So this is because your journal is amazing in looking at
Yeah.
these long links. Because
Yes.
you made such a provocative statement
Yeah.
in your
So
series of articles. Yeah. Uh-huh.
it's if any geopolitical course, any student of the geopolitical course or any professor of the geopolitical course, they would have known about the two theories about McMahon and Radcliffe, these two
Right.
lines. Okay, so if we know that who are these two people, then
So
we can know how they draw the line. Like if we study about these two people, we can know why they drew the line and how they drew these lines between India and Pakistan.
so the first one is who McMahon. You're saying, is that from the U.S.?
It is from the British.
Oh,
Both are from
oh,
British agents.
oh. Okay.
McMahon and
And
Radcliffe.
and who else?
Radcliffe.
Oh, Radcliffe, right? And
Yes.
so, is it not Mountbatten? Are you talking about?
No, not Mountbatten.
Not Mountbatten. Oh,
These are the two people who drew the lines between India, Pakistan, and Pakistan, Afghanistan,
right. Okay. So they drew those lines there, and I
and
mean,
even China.
the, and China, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, it's interesting that that Pakistan has been supportive of, or at least non-interventionist in terms of China's Uyghur policy, um, but uh, but not the same with India and Kashmir. I don't know how they can explain that logically because it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to make logical sense. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I
That is just a rhetoric that they make always.
Sorry, it's just
A rhetoric. A
right.
rhetoric.
Yeah, just rhetoric. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in international relations, there are two like important theories. Those are one is uh, Spikeman,
Yeah.
Spikeman theory, and
Uh-huh.
one is Mackinder.
Right.
Mackinder. So Spikeman is American, and like Mackinder is a British.
Yeah.
But Spikeman is also inclined towards British policies.
Hmm.
So they do talk about creating a buffer zones
Right.
between in Central Asia.
Right.
How they can divide, how like they wrote a theory how British can save their interest over the Central Asia and Asiatic countries over the next
Right.
100 years.
You do, yes. Is this the guy from Stratfor you're talking about?
Yeah, they came, they throw the theory like in 1905.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Okay. That's
it's
someone
during
different. But
World War One and World War Two.
right. Right. Now,
Uh,
I mean, you made a provocative statement recently, during this whole debate, that the blueprint for the Kashmir solution, meaning the revocation of Article 370, is drawn up by none other than Ernst and Young, which is one of
yeah,
the East India companies, also known as the Vatican's bankers. So I mean, one thing, like, for our listeners who may not have heard our initial discussion, although the 1857 rebellion, mutiny, the war against the East India Company destroyed the company on paper, you have traced how it has survived in various other leading companies in the world today. It didn't just
yes,
die and disappear. And
yes,
so I was unaware that Ernst and Young was one of them. I know many of other huge companies are really just continuation. I didn't know about Ernst and Young, and that,
yeah,
as you said, I mean, the Vatican's bankers, they are, and they drew up this blueprint. I wasn't aware of that, but they've been banned from operating in India,
yes,
and you said they're a major stakeholder in the ADA project, um,
yes,
and doing other things like predictive policing,
yes,
which is like science fiction AI. I mean, it's
yes,
amazing the experiments they're trying to do in India
yes,
to
yes,
then take to the world.
yes,
And you've exposed those things so amazing. I mean, I've learned so much from your expose
yes,
reporting. But so
yes,
can you elaborate on that, please?
yes, yes. Point one, you have mentioned how East India Company like created the many companies. I mean, how they diversified their corporation module into different companies, right?
Yeah.
So it's a part of mergers and acquisitions. Actually,
Yes.
East India Company itself has started this kind of a company act
Right.
because the world, the first company in the world is East India Company itself.
Yes.
We have many other
Joint stock.
companies like Dutch
Yeah.
East India Company, Dutch company, and like different companies at
Yeah.
the time. But East India Company is most prominent company at that time. They used to follow the Company Act also. They created the Company Act, and
That's right.
they also have created the mergers and acquisitions. If you see
Right.
that many companies now on itself, like they follow the theory of mergers and acquisitions. Like
Right.
recently Monsanto, I mean, is merged into the Dow Chemicals.
Yep.
Like Bayer also, like Bayer, they have always the follow the tree.
Yes.
The major company, the small companies, they merge into the again into the family of the bigger companies, like how the
Yes.
Bayer came and IG Farben, and these are the chemical companies, like how the
Yes.
Monsanto came into the light, like when they created the agent like Orange, the chemical
Yes.
warfare. So it's an example like how these companies evolve. They do the mergers and acquisitions here in itself. But if you trace out the owners of these companies,
Yeah.
it will go back to the same owners like Rothschilds, Rockefellers,
Right.
Oppenheimers. These are the people who are sitting at the chair of the big companies.
Right. So
And again,
Oppenheimer, Rothschild,
Rothschilds,
and who else?
Rockefellers,
Rockefeller. Yeah. Yeah.
Goldman Sachs.
Right.
So they are the stakeholders of all these companies.
Yeah.
And
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 they are all descendants of the East India Company,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yes. All of them are descendants from the East India
yes,
Company. I mean, people don't understand how huge that company was in world history, and that they've not left us. They're still
yeah,
here, just under other names and other corporations, but they're
yes.
still
That's
here.
all.
Yeah.
They still, if you trace out their owners, we can easily find out if you some one single company. If we have the profile, it's very simple job. If you
Yeah.
profile the entire company and its roots, we can know that who are sitting at the top of the chair.
Right.
So we can see that whether they have a link to East India Company or not.
Right.
So it's very easy job to know that like how where Ernst and Young how they diversified their like investments and who are their stakeholders and all these
Yeah.
things.
So how did Ernst and Young draw up this Article 370 solution?
So here is
How
the
did that happen?
interesting.
Yeah.
Here is the interesting thing. First, we have to know about the economics of the India,
Right.
how the financial situation of India right now. The financial situation of India is very bad at the moment.
Hmm.
uh, the liquidity of the company is running down, that the circulation of the currency is running down. After
Okay.
demonetization, it has like it went very bad. Now,
Okay.
for example, we can see that there is the recent scam that was broke out, but that was not in the news. That is 1 lakh crore scam. It is 1 lakh crore scam in currency, Indian currency, IL and
So
FS.
wait, one lakh crore. I'm trying to translate that into Western. 1 lakh crore. What is that? $10 million. 10 million.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right.
So 1 lakh crore, 1 crore is 10 million, basically.
Oh, 1 crore is 10 million.
10
So
million.
1 lakh
1 lakh
crore.
crore. Yes.
1 lakh. So that's what 100 billion? No,
Yes.
a hundred.
100
Yeah.
million.
Yes. 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 Wow. Wow.
Like
Okay.
1 billion.
Yes. 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 No, because yeah, a lakh is 100,000. So 100,000 times 10 million. So that's six. That's
Yes.
five zeros plus six zeros. That's 11 zeros.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. That's
So that recently broke out, that ILNFS. This is a financial company that is like for like it's called shadow banking.
right.
What RBI has recently created is like decade ago, they have changed so many policies of
When you say
banking
shadow
system.
banking,
Yes.
is that's not the same as the off because you were mentioning how Ernst and Young created the whole offshore networks for avoiding
Yes.
taxes and all. Is it the same thing as that, or are you talking about informal economy banking? What when you're talking
It's
about shadow?
shadow banking is like the bank itself gives permission to some other smaller investment companies.
Okay.
So financial schemes, like there are like a lot of financial schemes companies that will come out, like small financial companies. This ILFS is one of the financial scheme company that
Right.
gives loans to different companies to run the economy. Like for
Right.
example, they give loans to real estates and
Uh-huh.
auto people, like auto industry and different
Yeah.
industries. So,
Yes.
when ILNFS has given lot of loans and lot of cash to different industries, which they have not regulated their policies. Like
Yeah.
they have thrown out the huge money out of their investment. They went like even the beyond their limit, and they give
Yes.
loans to different companies, and
Yes.
now they
Yes. I
are
mean,
out of money. Yes.
all these financial institutions are just riddled
So
with fraud from top to bottom. I mean,
yes,
it did.
there are no regulations.
It's yeah, exactly.
So now
So
that had created a repercussions on auto industry. In last
right,
4 months, we that auto industry in India has lost 3.5 lakhs jobs.
right.
That's the situation of auto industry in India. The
Mm,
sales went down like drastically in last 6 months, and the jobs went down very drastically in last 3 4 months. That literally 3.5 lakh jobs, and even now it's closed down to 4 lakhs jobs going
okay.
down every month. Like now it's sliding up.
Yeah.
So that's a economical situation of India.
Right.
So what they have written the script Ernst and Young is, if we open out the investments in Kashmir.
Okay. So they
So
had a position paper on that or something?
yes, they have a position
Had they?
paper on this, that
Okay.
they have opened up. They have suggested the Indian government to open up the investment in Kashmir, so that one state of India will come down into the GST of economical rules of India, so
Right.
that India can financially gain something out of it.
Right. Right. So that so Ernst and Young was talking about revoking the Article 370 in order so that more investments can go into
Yes.
the area. Is that it? And how would revoking Article 370 help more investments go in? Is it by
Okay.
improving the security situation, or what? What is it?
No. Uh, Article 370 states that it's a special status. So
Oh yes, 35A and the ownership of land and all this.
yes,
Is that it?
ownership. So there is
Right.
no, if unless you revoke it, there is no body in India or in the world can go and invest in Kashmir
Right.
until and
Right.
unless that regional people have, or that government will allow you to invest in. So
Right.
nobody
Right.
can claim the land or any investment in Kashmir. So once
Right.
you revoked it, and even the Kashmir will not come into the GST Act. Kashmir
Hmm.
is not paying for the taxation of India.
Okay.
The collection of tax goes to itself, the Kashmiris
Right.
itself. So
Okay. Right. So it doesn't go into the Central Revenue
yeah,
Authority or whatever you might have there. Okay.
yes, they have their own bodies itself.
Right.
So they regulate their own bodies. It will not come into the jurisdiction of central government of
Right.
India.
So now integrating Jammu and Kashmir. Now the people who are for that are saying, well, that will help development in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, because it's been severely underdeveloped.
Yes,
Minorities have not had rights, and there's also the security issue as well. So dealing with what's your reading of that? Is it that, I mean, you did say it's a good thing, but it's that you should be careful about Ernst and Young's interest in this. Is that your
yes,
position on it?
yes, yes. So there
Right.
are a lot of. I mean, the country will make a lot of policies. There might be good or bad according to the leader how he act upon itself. For example, India have
Right.
started Make in India, but Make in
Yes.
India itself is a good one. It's like it will go into the, like, if we do it correctly, if we
Yeah.
follow what exactly that meaning is, Make in India. We make our own goods, we make our own rules, we are not dependent on other countries, and these kind of a
Yes.
rules, so that economically India will grow up. So there will be a demand for local economy, and the tax itself will come into the local development, local industry will develop. Not any foreign company will come and invest here and they take out
Right. So
all
so
money and
building
go
up the
out of it.
manufacturing base of India.
Yes, manufacturing. So these are the fine lines of Make in India. It's very, by policy it's very good, but when they got into the implemented, again the same companies are coming into India and they are telling we are making India. There
And
is
they're
no.
what? So
They are telling they are making in India. So
yeah,
the
yes.
same foreign companies are coming to India and they are telling
Right.
we are making in India. So it's not that
Yes.
the meaning itself is not true. Like, I mean,
Yes.
and
Yes. So
it's
that,
not.
yeah, it's just a foreign location for foreign production rather than
Yeah.
the development of Indian capacity.
Yes. So
Is that correct?
so now
Okay.
now the foreign companies are coming indirectly into India and they're telling that we are making in India. Before they used to invest in here and they used to make a subsidiary companies and all those things, and now they have their own, but now they are starting the production itself in India and they are using us over here, taking a loans from Indian banks and
Right.
getting all the money and making them makes I mean, there is no there is no point over here. The Indian industry is not getting use of it. They're not,
Right.
Indian industries are losing money over here, and there is no implementation of Make in India in a correct way.
Right.
So
So
if you basically what I am telling is like Make in India, it's Make in India policy is good. By policy is good, but when it comes to implementation, it's flawed. It went
right.
very wrong.
I'm just trying to figure out the flaw in it. So when the companies come and they're producing in India, it is for the Indian market, right?
Yes, they are using the Indian labor for their companies.
They're
Uh,
using the Indian labor,
Indian resources.
but the profits are being repatriated.
Yes. So, but
Right. Right.
on other side, Indian industries are not getting anything. The
The,
policy itself, Indian industries are not getting anything. The PSUs, the public sector units are losing day by day lot of money. The BSNL
okay.
went into bankruptcy last month, and last month BJP bailed out with 17,000 and odd approximate crores. So Indian PSUs are losing in, and foreign companies are getting profit out of it.
Right.
So the meaning
So
itself, how they introduced Make in India is to get
yeah.
Indian industry do good, and we do the more exports to other countries rather than imports. But here, the thing itself is getting flawed, and now you see, Article 370 itself is good. I
Right.
mean, the implementation part, where it
Yes. Yes.
goes, that we have to wait and see.
Right.
So there are a
I,
lot of foreign players involved in this. So they will have their own interest.
right.
So they will not work for India. They will not work for the security of India.
That's
They
right.
will not work for the development of Kashmiris over there.
Right.
That Indian government, Indian leadership has to take a role, and they have to fight for the development of Kashmir.
Yeah, because it's really just the same old Western companies, and most of these Western companies will
Yeah,
ultimately have ties to the East India companies
yeah,
who have always been raping India,
yeah,
ever since they were formed in
yes,
1600, and have been
yes.
trying to come there.
So,
So this Kashmir Development Summit that you've drawn attention to,
yeah.
um, you've written in your journal about this summit. When was that planned, and when is it going to happen?
that summit, that summit is going to happen soon. There is no exact date, but summit is going to happen soon. There are a lot of small summits are happening. That There are a lot of companies that are going to invest in power industry, and there are a lot of summits happening according to the industry. That
Right,
auto industry is coming already. The power industries are moving in, and the
right.
automobile industry is also moving in to set up their bases over there.
So
And
has there been a lot of interest expressed
yes,
to
of
invest in the area?
yes, of course, because this part of population and this part of resources was not tapped until now.
Yeah.
So it's a fresh market.
So so the companies don't see it as a security risk to be investing there
So
because of the security situation.
there is no security situation in Kashmir. They know that
Okay.
there is no security. There is no security. It was created. We all know that it was created. The conflict was created.
Right.
The
But
the bo-
so
Yes,
just to be clear, so are you saying that the 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 terrorist threat is not a real threat? Is that what you're saying in Kashmir?
so it's a real threat. The threat is real, but how they are contaminating, how they're containing it, like containment
Yeah.
of threat is not happening over there.
Right.
They just left it out that Kashmir is not part of India. The Kashmir itself is there. They're just deploying there's no strategy how to
Yeah.
contain the threat for next 10 years or 20 years or next 100 years.
Right.
Okay. So now they left the security itself into the open ground, and now they are creating a situation that unless the company is coming, the security cannot be contained.
Right.
So
Okay.
the situation was created, uh, the situation was purposefully like created to create this kind of a market situation.
Right. Right. Now, um, and you're talking about the Alibaba group expressing interest in being in Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes.
Right.
So there are a
Now,
lot of companies tapped into this one because it's fresh market. Lot of
right.
resources are there. A lot of people are there. Like a population is there. Like they just go and invest over there.
Now, Alibaba, I mean, I don't quite understand how it works because I know most companies have some connection to the Chinese government, but Alibaba seems to be kind of private. But I don't think a company that big in China can be really private. I might be mistaken, but that's my understanding. And but so if Alibaba wants to get into Jammu and Kashmir, it must have some sort of permission or sanction from the Chinese government. And to me, that sounds like a sort of good thing towards in, having better relationships between India and China. But do you agree or disagree with that?
Okay. So you are saying that there is, if Alibaba has to come to India, they need a permission or sort of like that from Chinese government, right? So
Yeah.
Alibaba is already the part of many industries in India. For example, they invested into they are the stakeholders of one of the biggest online retail company, Paytm, and
Okay.
also Amazon, and they have a lot of stakes. So it's even China wants to tap into this kind of a market. Why they will lose this kind of a market over there? If India and China, there is a conflict between the nation to nation, but why they want to lose out this market? When the Americans are coming in, why the China want interest in to this kind of a market because it's a huge market over there. So
Right.
even they want to involve in this kind of a market. So business is business.
Yeah.
Like nation to nation war is diplomatic truffles are there, but business is always goes international.
Do you think it would help? It would help resolve the problems between India and China at all, by having this
This is
major
not
Chinese company operating, or not really?
so economical market. International business is no way concerned about the conflicts.
Yeah,
They are way altogether different.
you're right. Right. Okay.
So so
All
if
right. Now,
Pakistan company want to invest in India, that doesn't mean that Pakistan India is having a good relation or something like that.
right. Right.
It's not like that. It might come, it might be good or it might be bad, but India and Pakistan relation will be the same until and unless both government have will take a stand.
Yeah. 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 There's another thing you were talking about. So there's not only the investment aspect, but you're talking about the deployment of American missiles, the idea of a Switzerland in India. Could you elaborate on that idea?
Yes. Um, so as I spoke about already on Spikeman theory, Spikeman has spoke about. He postulated a theory of creating a rimland, creating a buffer zones between the Central Asia and Europe and all these countries, how they can contain the Russia and all. So when we
Right.
know about the
So,
Great Game,
so they want
they
to
want
contain Russia,
yes,
China,
China,
India
India,
mainly.
yes.
Right.
So they want to contain all these superpower. Not go into the. They want the balance of power kind of a thing. So if India, China, and Pakistan or Russia moves together, it's a threat for Western countries, Western markets.
Uh-huh.
because Western market is already doomed. So now they need Asian markets.
Yeah.
So if we self-sustain ourselves with a cooperation of Russia or China or any other country in Asia, so it's not good uh, indicator for Western markets.
Right.
So because there is no dependency, unless you have a dependency on the dollar,
Yeah.
so the dollar will sustain. If you cut out the
Yeah.
dollar itself from the entire market,
Yeah.
so now
I mean,
India will.
most people don't understand that for most of human history, Europe was not really part of the world economy. The world economy was mainly India, China, I mean Rome, Persian Empire. These, you know, then later the Ottoman Empire and so forth. And of course the various Umayyads and the Islamic world as well. I mean, this is where and the whole Silk Road. Um, route. That was the economy until it was broken up by European imperialism, and you had all the maritime routes, which are now being threatened, and that's what the whole U.S.-China conflict in the South China Seas is all about. Um, but yeah, so so they want to prevent the reemergence of Asia, and so they need Asia to be dependent on either the dollar or trade routes or the military to be divided and so forth.
Yes,
So this is where that idea of the little
yes,
Switzerland comes in. Is that it?
yes. So the idea of colonization
Yeah.
is still prevailing.
Yes.
It's still going on. So
Yeah.
they need the previous colonies. They need the previous colonies' resources and its people.
Yes.
So I mean, so they so unless they have the control over these colonies, they cannot develop. They know that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
because of it, they want their governments and they want their companies to get involved in with the government of these Asiatic countries. Who are the colonies, previous colonies, like Thailand, Sri Lanka, or Indonesia, Malaysia, or any other country, India,
Yeah.
Pakistan, or any other country. They manipulate the things. They try to
Yes.
manipulate the government policies. They try to influence. They want their influence over these governments.
Uh-huh.
So this
So
is all together going on.
right. So now you're saying that one of the plans was to make Kashmir an independent state that would be under control of the United Nations, and then I guess at the time when they were writing up those plans in 48 or 47 or 50 or somewhere around then, around independence, um, uh, when they were doing that, it might have been the UK or the US, but now it's American missiles. Um, so you're talking about that, but in a sense, because I was reading, you were talking about that, but in a sense, isn't that what Pakistan turned out to be? Um, Pakistan turned out to be the American satellite in Asia to prevent the rise of Asia. Am I reading that correct or not?
Yes. So what part of the history we have to know here is when Kashmir was created, when Jammu Kashmir was created. Out of Pakistan when they divided it. Hari Singh was a king when, so he was a
Yes.
king that was ruling Jammu and Kashmir. All that.
Yeah.
So for him, it's not a difficult part to go with the war with the Pakistan and merge the Pakistan into Kashmir.
Right.
So he was in that idea of creating a greater Jammu Kashmir, including Pakistan. So his border will touch up to Iran.
So you mean so he wanted to take over West Pakistan or like
Yes, yes, the
right?
whole Pakistan itself.
Even East Pakistan?
Yes. East Pakistan was not. Yes, East Pakistan was not part of his interest, but
Right.
the West Pakistan itself, like he wants to take over. It's not a, difficult job for him when because he knows that kind of politics. I mean, he's a king, right? So
Yeah.
he don't want that part of his Kashmir to left over, and that will create a conflict in the near
Now,
coming future. So he
now
was in an idea to
yeah.
submerge the Pakistan into Kashmir and creating a greater Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir itself. So that was filed
I
out.
want to ask you something about that princely state of Jammu and Kashmir
Yes,
before, right? So, I was doing some research on it, and it's not my area of specialty, but I have come across the Chinese, the Chinese dispute um, the territorial claim of Hari Singh. So they don't even agree. Whereas India and China agree that these are the borders of the princely state, but Pakistan believes that it should be under Pakistani control. Um, but uh, but China doesn't even agree that those were the princely state borders. And why is that? Did Hari Singh invade part of China and annex it, or what? Why doesn't China accept those borders even of the princely state? Do you know?
uh, they need their part of rule over Kashmir itself. So it's normal state to state conflict, but
Right.
that much not that was not that much huge crisis over that time. But later on, it can be resolved in diplomatic relation and how the
Right,
king might have
because now
been.
that part of Kashmir is part of the Uyghur territory
Yes, yes, that would
in
have been
China.
resolved in that part of time only. But the interesting thing is when Hari Singh was not, I mean, when Hari Singh don't want to merge Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir into India or either Pakistan, he's an idea of creating a greater Pakistan, a greater Jammu and
Jammu Kashmir.
Kashmir, including Pakistan itself, and eliminating. But the thing is, it was filed down because of Mountbatten. So Mountbatten has threatened Hari Singh with uh, the government of India. So when that has went
And
into the
at
war,
that time
like
was Mountbatten Governor General of
yes,
independent India?
yes,
Okay, all right.
yes. So he was like that part of Pakistan. With the Afghan troops, with the Afghan tribes, they waged a war with Jammu Kashmir on Hari Singh.
Right.
So then they
So
created a
why
situation
did
of
they wage a war? It was just
so
why what
so
yeah.
it's a British policy to wage a war with Jammu Kashmir so that Hari Singh will yield his power towards government of India and
Okay.
that time British. So he
Right.
obviously come and ask for help of Mountbatten or Nehru over here or Patel so that he will listen to whatever government of India or at that time of British would say.
Okay. So let me get the story straight so far, because the way you're telling it, there's no clear good guy or bad guy in the story at all. Um, so there's Jammu and Kashmir with the princely state. The ruler, Hari Singh, didn't want to either join Pakistan or India, but in fact, he had aggressive designs on Pakistan, you're saying. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay. So then Pathans were invading or making incursions into Jammu and Kashmir. Um, the way that other historians have put it is that that was a way for Pakistan to try to annex Jammu and Kashmir. But what is that incorrect in your view, or
yes,
was was
yes.
Pakistan also trying to take over Jammu and Kashmir? Was it that?
Pakistan is not that powerful itself. It was newly
Okay,
formed state.
right.
It don't have any formidable weaponry system, formidable army over at that time.
Uh-huh.
So, how can a small country that was born and that was newly created can come and invade Jammu and Kashmir and create a threat over Jammu and Kashmir or India? It
Okay.
That kind of a situation you will get to know that where the support came from for the
Uh-huh.
Pakistan and Afghanistan. Is
Right.
that a new player that is supporting Pakistan or like and going telling them to go and invade Jammu and Kashmir, we will support you. So that kind of a support would have come to Pakistan until and unless they have, because they know that if they go and attack India or Jammu and Kashmir, they will definitely lose.
Right. So what you're saying is that it was a way for so who was sponsoring the Pathans and to
Who
invade Jammu and Kashmir? Is it the
obvi-
Indians or the British or
British,
both? The British.
obviously British.
Right. But Mountbatten was the Governor General of India, but he was
Yes,
still basically the representative of the Queen and of Britain.
yes.
So
He's also army general before he became governor general. He's a
right, and
supreme commander of Navy of British Royal Army. Whatever in Southeast Asia. He was
right,
stationed in Singapore for 2 years.
okay, right,
He
right,
waged a war with Japanese.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Later on, he
Right.
became the governor general. When he became the governor general, he knows that he came like a war.
Yeah. So why are you saying that Britain wanted Jammu and Kashmir to be part of India? Why are you saying they would want that?
Because they don't want any princely states.
Right. So Britain didn't want the princely states?
No, they don't want any princely states.
Right. So in your view, where does Sardar Patel fit in all of this? And bringing all the princely states, and he's been recently honored with the big statue as the person that unified India, brought them together into one, and all the princely states now have been brought into the Indian Rashtra nation. So what is your view on that?
So the answer itself, I will give to the audience, and they know that I don't want to give out the answer over what's the Patel role and all those things. They know itself. They will get to know where the Patel
Okay.
fits in.
They'll get to know that what?
Yeah, they will get to know the answer where the Patel fits in this kind of
Okay,
equation.
where Patel fits in. Okay. So, but do do you think that it would have been sorry? I think it would have been better for the princely states to keep their independence from independent India?
Yes,
Okay. Why do you think so?
like it's a kind of a proportionality government. For example, we in India called ourselves as biggest democratic country, but we are not federal. We call
Yes.
ourselves as a federal, but federalism is not there in India because each and every state has no power.
Yes.
They always has to depend on the central
The
government.
center. Right.
Yes, even on health, education, on anything, they have to depend upon central government.
So you
So
think
that kind of, if you observe US, each and every state has supreme. They have their own supreme court.
right.
So they will not abide whatever the central government of America, for example, like they throw into the state. The state might go against it. They have their own
Right.
rules. Each and every state is federal over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
here in India, it's not the thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we are discussing over here is the princely states would have been truly federal.
Right.
They have
Okay.
their own
And
resources.
And in a sense, when you look at when you look at the map of human history, for a lot of times, India was not unified under a single ruler, except the Maurya, Chandragupta Maurya Empire, or Ashok, maybe, a few times, and then later under the Mughals and whatnot. But many times it was small princely states, and I myself was wondering how to interpret that historically. That uh, that perhaps it was some sort of system where there was a lot of local autonomy, and there was a kind of informal unity, just as much as Southeast Asia, with the spread of Buddhism and Hinduism throughout Indonesia, Japan, China, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, all those areas, Thailand. Um, it wasn't military conquering, but there were all these independent states that, in a sense, it's kind of like the American empire of today, where America might not rule the territories, but they control the culture in a way. Everybody, will eat McDonald's hamburgers and watch Arnold Schwarzenegger movies or whoever is popular these days, and
Yeah.
whatnot. But in those days, it would be, Hinduism or Buddhism, and I'm not sure. Is that the type of thing you're thinking about in terms of I don't know, Hindu or Indic kind of political organization and it,
So, actually, there is a lot of misinterpretation and misinformation in what we are getting from the history books. Like,
okay,
for example, even for now, there is a state of Andhra Pradesh and there is a state of Tamil Nadu,
right,
and each state has their own history.
yes,
They are evolved. I mean, I'm just giving these two examples. I mean, two states.
yes,
There are many states. There are many languages,
yeah,
and there are many different cultures over in India. So
yeah.
I'm just
So
giving the
yeah,
examples.
actually, it's more like Europe, isn't it? I mean, it's a billion people. Europe is only 300 and something million people, and yet you have all these different countries, but there's this idea of Europe. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like that. Like there's Andhra
yeah,
Pradesh, there's Tamil Nadu, there's Punjab, there's wherever. Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
So
continue.
each and every state has their own culture, own language, own way of cooking food, old way of living. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
their own way of living,
yeah,
and they are different. I mean, but when it comes to the policy of uh, worshipping, or policy of for example, the way of their own livelihood, they are the same. Like, for example, they worship the trees. We also, like, I mean, the state also worship trees. They have their
yeah,
own kind of a worshipping nature also. For example, in the past, we India and all these kingdoms, they used to abide the policies of worshipping nature.
right, yeah.
So, worshipping the plant,
Rivers,
waters,
mountains, yeah,
rivers, mountains,
sun,
stones, and because they don't want to disturb the nature. So
yeah,
for the future generation, they used to say that unless and until you create a worshipping nature, you will not go and destroy it.
yeah,
So there is a value build up among all this nature. There is a value that is giving towards the nature. Now the value was went down. That's why we
yeah,
are cutting out the trees. We are cutting out the stones. We are drilling out the mines.
yeah,
We are polluting the rivers because the value system went down.
right,
So, but here you can observe that all these princely states, they used to always have their own ministry itself. They have the
right,
different ministry. They have the cultural finance ministry, and archaeological ministry, and the temple ministry, and different things used to be there. There is a lot of education that used to go into the state.
what
So
about the
here,
currencies?
yeah,
What
currencies,
currency?
they have their different currencies.
Okay,
Even, for example, Vijayanagara kingdom, Krishnadeva ruled half of the South India. Even he was the emperor, but under him there are different states, different
yeah,
princely states that were there. Around him there are like thousands of princely states and thousands of cultures, languages, and different people used to be there.
Yeah.
So what I'm telling is, there is a 1 billion population country in India, and there is only one single government that is ruling over. So there is a kind of centralization that is happened, and
Yeah.
that central government don't have a power to look after each and every citizen of India.
Right.
So
Yeah.
okay,
It's just too
if
big. Yeah.
yeah, if India is cut down into different states, smaller states, then the development will increase
Right. Right.
because the centralization will come down to the level of roots under the villages and towns and different the area of the concentration of the power will come into the smaller states, and the state will develop.
Okay. All right.
So that
And
was the
and
idea at that time, the
and
princely
and do you
states.
so do you think in terms of the British policy in bringing in Jammu and Kashmir into India was meant to hinder the development of the subcontinent, or was it other reasons, or what? What was it?
It was the same reason why they merged the 550 princely states at that time,
And that reason was what?
that to create an investment opportunity.
Okay, so as they were leaving India as rulers, they wanted to have, I suppose, a simple investment opportunity in a single state rather
Yes,
than in a
yes, yes,
plurality of states.
yes, that's
Okay,
true. That's true.
okay,
Because at that time, for example, Mysore Odiyar kings, they have so much of wealth, so much of wealth
yes,
that even it's 6 times greater than the British after World War II.
yeah,
That much of currency was there in the Mysore kingdom. But even in the Travancore, Kerala, Travancore
yes,
kings, they have so much of treasure. But
yeah.
when they merged
Last
the
year, uh-huh,
when they merged the princely states,
yes.
they accepted to merge all this treasure to central government.
Ah, I see.
Okay, so we don't know where the treasure went.
Right, because isn't it last year they discovered in Kerala some wealth that was buried for I don't know hundreds of years, and it's
Yes,
like over $1 trillion in terms of
yes,
diamonds and I mean it was just a massive, massive amount. What was
yes,
it that much?
Th-
Like $1 trillion worth
yes,
US
yes,
dollars?
yes.
Wow, wow,
So
that's incredible. And there's
that's only
more.
one part of, yeah, that's only one part of the treasure of Travancore. Uh,
Yes.
I mean, like assume, when it was in 1950s, when we are, all these princely states were more than what they have now. They are more treasure
Right.
of what they have in that time,
So
and where it all
right,
went, we don't know. That part of history
right,
was like cut off.
right. So the princely states really had these amazing stores of wealth that, I mean, a lot of people don't know that for all of human history, I think even up to today, the largest sink of gold in the world is India, right? I mean,
Yes,
and
yes,
and it's not that India had gold mines; it's because of all the trade with the Romans, with the Chinese, with the Arabs, with the whole world came to trade
yes,
cloth, indigo, spices, all
yes,
sorts of things, canvas, um, in inks, and all sorts of things from India. Yeah, it's so yeah, I didn't think about the wealth of the princely states. Yes, yes. So that would have been brought into the central government. Okay, all right. So I'm trying to make sense of the story, I suppose you're putting on this. So now the deployment of the American missiles. That's where I started off with this. The deployment of the American missiles in Kashmir and the creation of the little Switzerland. Because what I was saying is that Pakistan would have been that state, I think, but I don't know. Tell me from your point of view how you see it.
the deploying of missiles, right?
Yeah, so the
So
in Kashmir and Ladakh and their plans and whatnot. Yeah,
yeah,
like
it's
why
again
do
the
they
part
need?
of.
Yeah, why do they need Kashmir when Pakistan has been their ally?
So it's part of the, I mean, same British old policy. They fund the both side of war.
Okay, so like just having more than one client state then.
The more conflict, the more investment, the more
Right,
business of weapons.
right. Okay, right. And now you were talking about that Washington withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. At the same time, the military was being deployed in Kashmir. You're talking about the Pulwama attack, the Bangkok blasts, and you're saying that these things are all related.
So,
So is that right? Am I
so
right? Yeah.
yes, I mean that kind of a theory that like we are creating. I mean that was like assume. I mean they are creating a scenarios.
Right.
So they are creating a scenarios of threat. So these threat scenarios will automatically yield into much more stronger security policies where
Right.
they might get an permission to deploy their missiles or any weaponry system in Kashmir,
Okay.
because these kind of scenarios will definitely will, I mean, yield these kind of results, obviously,
Right.
because so what we are assuming right now is they're creating a scenario
Uh-huh.
of different security threats. So our policymakers inside India, they will think all these security threats and all those things, and they might think that this is a right thing to allow Americans to
Yeah.
deploy their missile system in Kashmir so that we'll be in the safe hands.
Well, okay. I could see that with the defense, because you also talked about the document called the Blueprint for the Century of India-U.S. Strategic Partnership. So
Yes.
that the United States has really been pushing uh, India as a new military partner, and the BJP government have been embracing that. Is
Yes.
is that right? So now tell me what is your view about the role of Israel right now in this whole thing? Because because under the BJP it seems that Israel's profile has increased greatly. This the support for the Palestinians has dropped, and um, people are saying, and many Muslims are saying that in the Kashmir region, the BJP are trying to put in a kind of Israeli policy, like what occupied territories and repression of Palestinians and Muslims. So these are some of the things that people are talking about in terms of Israel and India right now. Well, what is your view from your research and investigations?
So here we need to understand when we are talking about Israel, it I mean uh, it indirectly means about British. So there is no difference between Israel and the British.
Okay.
Both are same.
And what about the Americans? How do you fit the Americans? All three are the
Americans
same, or you see them as different?
Americans are Americans are waging the British and Israeli wars.
Right. Okay. Right.
So whatever the Americans are doing in all over the world, they are just following the footsteps of British and Israel.
Okay. All right.
So they are not. If we study about the wars, American wars, they are not actually doing the American wars. They are doing the
Yeah.
wars for Israel or the British.
Right. Yeah. I see that definitely.
Yeah.
Right. So so Israel's heightened involvement in India recently. So how what's your interpretation of that, its meaning, and so forth?
Sorry, pardon. Come again.
Yeah, I was saying. what is your view about Israel's increasing involvement in India? You know, its partnership, its security partnerships, its trade routes. And people are saying that for Israel, after America, India is now its major focus of international partnership. Have you, yeah, what's your reading of all of this?
So, so as I told that Israel is nothing but British. Whatever the British interest is there in India,
Right.
it's the same part of that comes into the Israel itself because
Okay.
of the Mountbatten or Churchill or any other government, the power center of the British was is none other than the Jews.
Right.
Mountbatten is a Jew, and
Okay.
Churchill is a Jew, and
Right.
Benjamin Disraeli is a Jew that who created Israel, and he's also
Yeah.
part of the British. So they are the
and and
same
and and he
same kind
created
of
the British Empire, the Imperial Britain after the mutiny. It
yes,
was Disraeli.
yes.
Okay, yeah. And then the city
So
of London,
yeah,
is dominated by, yeah,
yes. So it's the
financiers.
same part of lobby that we are, talking about.
Right.
So
Okay.
when the BJP is going in the, increasing their relation with Israel, that
Yeah.
means that means that it's indirectly way into the hands of British.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So
Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to know um, if that was the link you were making. So because international finance, because I mean Nehru pointed it out very clearly that British imperialism was financial. It was very much financially based, and we know that the city of London is dominated by Jewish financiers and all
yes,
the houses, and
yeah,
that's what it is. It's part of the whole international network. Yeah. So okay. So you are plugging it into that analysis. Yeah. So so what's your sort of overall assessment? So, well, we started it off, and so your assessment seems that Article 370 is good to try to bring closure, but the fact is that Britain does not want closure to the situation, uh, and and in, but they all so that's on one side, but on the other side, uh, they would like to use it to increase the military and business presence in the region, and removing of Article 370 and 35A could do that. Is this kind of what is this the
yes,
argument in a nutshell?
yes.
Okay, all right. So, so what do you see? So what's your position in the whole? Now, this is not really part of the international debate on the thing. The international debate is more about Hindu nationalism and and Muslims, and Hindus oppressing Muslims, and that's basically what they've just spoken about. Just Hindus oppressing Muslims. I don't think there's anybody is saying anything more than that, really.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
yeah.
So that narration will come automatically into the media because we don't have basic knowledge on history of India and how the Pakistan is created. For now, like the simple thing is the great game. The term, the great game
Yeah.
itself is not printed in any history book of India. You
Yeah.
cannot see
Right.
the term
Yeah,
anywhere
I
in.
only recently found out about it a few years ago doing my research. Yeah, but it was so important to British policy, the Great Game,
Yes, and it's very
in the
important
19th
to
century.
Indians,
Yeah, yeah,
because
because
they
that's what it was
have
about, keeping China, India, and
yeah.
Russia
So
separated and not merged.
yes, so because that kind of a knowledge will root out our policies, our international policies and diplomatic relations, and because that's the basic knowledge that any diplomat needs to know, or any Indian needs to know, because that will create a different policies itself.
Yes, because they'll
That
understand the long manipulation that has been happening.
yes, so obviously that media narration will automatically yield this kind of a rhetorics like Hindu nationalism, Muslims, and this kind of
Yes.
a thing. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
always go with it, and we enjoy with the nationalism part of it without any
Right.
knowledge.
Okay. So one last aspect that I want you to help me with here now. This is a China-Pakistan economic corridor.
Yeah,
Right, so that's going through Balochistan region, correct?
yeah,
There's a, Karakoram Highway, I think it's called.
yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right,
yeah, yeah.
but that,
It's right.
and that's
Yes.
okay, um, and that's going through the Balochistan area. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that's in the so that's a major part of the Silk Road. So what is your how does this fit into the whole geo-economic, geopolitical picture for you?
So that's part of the, I mean, policies that's moving in, like the recent 370 I mean, cutting out the 370 thing and increasing the investment opportunities over there in Kashmir, and all these things are
Right.
to contain China. I mean, power, and to stop the Silk Road development.
Okay, so what you're saying is that um that the American the so you're saying the American and British um w- would would be in favor of removing Article 370 so that the economic investment there will act as a counter. Their Western, it will be a place of Western investment to be against the Belt and Road Initiative. So that's what you're
Yes,
saying. So
yes,
in a sense, you're seeing Western interests as being divided because on the one hand, they want they like Article 370 there to keep the instability, but then on the other hand, if it's removed, they can use it another way as a place for investment for American military to disrupt the Belt and Road Initiative. So is it
yes,
kind of like a plan A, plan B, so that if
yes,
one thing fails and the other thing goes through, then they have a plan to work.
yes,
So they have a plan for both sides. If Kashmir is being kept as this conflict zone forever, that's great in one way. If it's removed now, then okay, they have to figure out another way to keep the Asian continent divided. So through Western investment, through the planting of missiles, and through the disruption of the Belt and Road Initiative. Is this is am I understanding what you're saying correct there?
yes, yes. The instability they created, uh, it came to the way that, I mean, it came to the point where it has to be now. They have to enter into this thing.
So who has to enter into?
See, for example, I mean, a simple, I mean, example.
Yeah,
If you want to invest in somewhere like
yeah,
for water project or water purification, first, as a company, that you need to create a water crisis over there.
okay,
Okay, so when the water crisis comes over there,
yeah.
then your company will always have a market over there. So if you provide water, that every other people will come to your company and buy the water over there
Right.
because it's already
And
the crisis going on.
so what are you talking about? In Jammu and Kashmir, or you're talking about?
Yeah, in Jammu Kashmir, that what I'm talking is like now they created a crisis to the
Yes.
point they can come and invest over there
Right. Okay.
and
Okay.
use the crisis over as a market.
So is a solution you see uh one where I mean ultimately Russia, China, Pakistan, India, and I guess Afghanistan uh and I suppose Iran um all have to develop a proper working relationship uh, and throw off the Anglo-American, Anglo-Zionist um, uh, control in the region. Is that's basically the ultimate solution that has to be reached? Is that
Yes,
what you're saying?
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something I totally agree with. I guess I forgot Bangladesh should be
Yeah.
part of that
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. Um, and so that ultimate solution of this sort of pan-Asian cooperation
Yeah.
really is is what should be aimed at. So in that sense, to me, I think the Shanghai Cooperation Organization seems like a very important organization to that end, and the
Yes.
Belt and Road Initiative. Would you agree?
Yes. Yes. Even the BRICS.
The BRICS, of course, the BRICS, and and it was very good that at the last Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, I think Modi and Xi Jinping. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, Modi made some definite moves to be closer. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, I do think that the embrace of the United States and Israel is wrong. It's wrong for India. It's totally wrong for them. And and many people have been uh, saying that this whole removal of Article 370 uh, is Israeli driven. Uh, do you think it is?
I don't think that it's only Israeli driven, but it's like as we spoke about all
Yeah,
the like Anglo-American interest, like that
yeah,
falls into this.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, because I do I think that the security issue has to be dealt with, and it is a security issue. And I think that the removal of Article 370, the promotion of peace and development, you see, this is what the whole thing about the Asian unity that we're talking about. It's for peace and development because that's what the whole Anglo-Zionist American thing. That's about underdevelopment and permanent war. That
Yeah.
they are always promoting underdevelopment and war,
Yeah.
always, and so to me, the removal of Article 370 is a step towards peace and development.
Yeah.
So that's how I've interpreted it, and I really sort of because I really respect all the work you guys are doing there to uncover all these links, and I just wanted to see if your opinion was different, and it seems to me that you're saying that yes, it is a step towards um, it can be a step towards this resolving of the security conflict, but there are real dangers there that it can also be used to encourage further conflict, which is, I think, what the media is doing. What the media is doing is they're preparing the world for war because they're saying removal of Article 370 is just going to increase Kashmiri separatism, Pakistani invasion again, or whatever. And they are preparing the world now. They're saying that these Hindu nationalists have been are warmongering, and they are just going to cause instability when really it's a move to try to bring peace and development, and instability is instead the world. CNN, New York Times, BBC, Al Jazeera, they're just promoting uh, uh, they're
Yeah.
preparing the ground. They're psychologically preparing everybody that war is going to happen.
Yeah.
What,
That's part.
you
I mean,
agree?
that's another part of media,
Yes.
which is like which is also not digging up what exactly going on over there. They are not reporting the British policies or Anglo-American interest over there, and how they created the whole conflict of Pakistan, India. They are not
Yeah.
going into the roots of what it is like, but uh, they just want to go against the BJP. They're just going against it. That's all.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just going for the sake of going. The India is caught between these two extremisms. The
And
normal
which two extremisms? Which two extremisms?
one is going against the BJP, and that all these people they are going towards the Anglo-American interest,
Right.
and now another part of the people they are going towards the anti BJP and anti thing without going into the basics of what exactly the problem is.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So it's both two. I mean, for example, two mad persons are fighting between themselves.
Yes, yes, yes. They're not seeing the real underlying issues
Yes,
that are
yes,
necessary, which
yes.
is,
So
yeah,
where
the long term.
the
Yeah,
normal public,
yeah,
they are in the confusion.
yeah.
So where exactly that thing is going on. So that, so as a normal person, if you know the basic, if you don't know the basic history of what exactly going on, you will take either side of it.
Yes.
So
It's
again, you
kind of
will
like
be the part
America
of
when,
the same conflict.
yeah. It's kind of like America when people talk about they're pro-Trump or anti-Trump or Trump is a racist or whatever. They're not seeing some of the other issues, how he's really undermine he's trying to undermine the war machine, and so forth. Yeah, I think I could interpret it in that way. Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to thank you for this interview. It's important because I don't think anybody else is really talking about it from this aspect at all, and this is the most important aspect. I was so glad when I discovered you guys and your magazine and what you're doing, because it was definitely along the lines that I was trying to develop, and you've been doing such amazing work that it's helped me so much to clarify and
Thank
understand.
you.
And I hope that it has also helped the listeners and
Yep.
the viewers of this podcast also at
Sure,
least get
sure.
a better view. And again, I want to encourage all of my readers to subscribe to Great Game India. I'll put the link below here. Um, sign up to the website. What's the website address again? Because you changed the
GreatGameIndia.com.
website, didn't you?
We have three websites.
Right. Okay.
One
So
is
tell me.
greatgameindia.com
Right.
and one is gginews.com.
Okay. That's two, and you said there's a third one.
There is a GGI Andhra, where we specifically created for Andhra Pradesh state.
So right, and that's in a different
Yeah.
language, obviously. That's in
Yes.
yeah. That's in what, Telugu?
Yeah, it's in Telugu and English both.
Telugu and English. Okay. All right. And I also want to advise readers to get the incredible book, India in Cognitive Dissonance. That's your sort of flagship
Yes.
book. I
Yes.
mean, it will change your view of the entirety of world history. It's just amazing. So thanks again for everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Well, that's all for Independent Thought and Freedom this week. Please join us again next week. And in the meanwhile, please make sure you subscribe, leave me a rating, like and share this podcast with your friends. Thanks, and bye for now.